Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 537. Our top 5 games with end game bonuses.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by Game Toppers LLC. They have a wonderful product, and once you go to their website, you too will see how wonderful it is. And once you play on one, you will never want to not play on one. Go check them out, GameToppersLLC.com.
We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I am Andy Holliday.
I'm Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard. With our powers combined,
We are Meeple Nation.
we are the world's okayest podcast.
That is pretty okay. Speaking of the world's most okayest podcast, if you'd like to listen to some amazingly okay episodes, we have links to all of those on our website. We would love for you to head over to meeplenation.com, check out our blogs. We have photos of our gaming experiences, bios of each of the hosts of Meeple Nation and some of our former hosts of Meeple Nation. And we have a link to our Patreon. We thank our patrons so much. We appreciate the support that you have provided for the podcast and for the opportunities you have made for us to improve the listening experience for all of our listeners. If you too would like to be a patron, click that link, jump over to the Patreon page, and become an official member of Meeple Nation. Thank you so much for your support, and we very much appreciate it. Also, we would love to hear from you. And any of our listeners, please reach out to us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We thoroughly enjoy getting emails from our listeners and getting questions and comments and suggestions. We definitely read through those and we take those seriously. So please reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, that will take us into my favorite part of the podcast where we get to talk about all the fun things we've been playing. And boy, have we been playing some fun stuff.
Yeah. So we're back from MonCon, and we had a blast. I cannot explain, I cannot describe to enough credit how amazing that was to be up there in the mountaintops of Montana, enjoying company of 22 of our closest friends and having an amazing time. And I cannot express enough. None of us can express enough. The Blaze family to open those doors, allow us into their home away from home. It was just amazing.
Yeah,
It really was.
100%. It was absolutely fantastic. And we sat down and started. We were kind of going to do a little bit of a MonCon review this episode. And we had previously hit record and started talking about our MonCon memories and all the great games we got to play and how amazing that experience was. And almost 2 hours later,
Yeah.
the record button was still red. What we've decided to do is bump that. So we'll actually do our MonCon review that'll be 2 weeks from now, but it'll be a full episode, probably one of the longest episodes
Yeah.
we've done.
For a long time. Yeah. It was, and we're going to run into the same issue here, right? That we just can't express our gratitude enough for this opportunity. It was phenomenal. We played so many great games, and so tune in a couple weeks and hear us go on and on and on in glorious gaming wonder.
Yeah, we played a lot of fun games.
Yeah.
We really did.
That's the great thing about something like MonCon is it's just basically nonstop gaming, and the benefit to MonCon versus like SaltCon or, some of these conventions that we host things, not that I mind hosting, but it is just, hey, let's play a game. And we go look at the huge pile of games that everybody brought and we just grab something and play it.
Yeah, we definitely overshot our timetable there.
I got excited about all the games I was going to play up there. That might have taken a few more than I needed.
Yeah, I even started tracking them, right? The first day I was like, okay, I made a spreadsheet. I was all excited. So I was starting to keep track of everything. Yeah, that only lasted a day.
But you never know what everybody else is going to be in the mood to play. So having that variety was actually really nice. And I learned quite a few new games and spread my wings a little bit, not too much.
You played 2 social games
I did.
and smiled.
Yeah.
Both of those things, rare occasions.
I think there's even video evidence.
I took a picture.
But it was fun, and caliber of people, the caliber of gaming, and the caliber of where we were, top notch. Could not have been better.
Yeah. So amazing. So
All right.
again, we're tune in a couple weeks and you'll hear us gush about that.
I was going to say, we can't spend 2
Yeah.
episodes gushing about it.
No, we gotta.
So let's talk
Cut
about
that
highlights. Highlights. Then we'll just talk about one highlight each, and then we'll move on to the episode.
That
Yeah.
sounds great.
So
Yeah.
highlights not from MonCon, but still stuff that we've been playing.
Well, one that I got to play with you, Nathan. I think we just missed you, Andy. You had walked in as we were playing it. But we got Robot Quest Arena to the table. I mean, we've kind of talked about how much we like deck builders in the past. We really do like deck builders a lot.
We do, yeah.
And I liked this one. This was another really solid deck builder game by White Wizard Games. Star Realms and Hero Realms, they're kind of known for that pretty solid basic deck building format that they do. They've got that mechanism down pretty solid. And this used a lot of the exact same deck building fare. But it was fun because as you're building your deck, you're essentially loading your deck up with batteries, attacks, or functions, and you're controlling robots out on an arena. You basically are going to use your cards to move around, to perform special abilities, and to attack each other.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games that's really cool. Like, you're going to get hit, but it's okay. It doesn't feel super take that, because if you run out of life, that's victory points in somebody else's pile. But on your turn, you're going to respawn and take your turn like normal. It doesn't necessarily feel like a real... It's not the bad feeling kind of take that. It's just oh, you knocked me out. I'm going to come get you.
Yeah.
So then you do, right? Then on your turn, you spawn and you move over and you hit him with a crossbow or sucker punch him with one of the melee attacks or something like that. I had a really fun time playing that game. And then yesterday, I got to play it again with my son and one of my nephews, and they loved it as well. Super big hit the first time we played it, and it was just as much of a hit the second time we played it.
Awesome. That's great. Did the pink robot win the second time? The pink puppy?
We didn't play with the pink puppy the second time. It was the one that got left out because it was only a 3-player game.
Oh, gotcha. I got to watch that one. It was a 4-player game, right? And I came in just as the teach got finished, and I was content to watch.
Yeah.
So who all played? I can't remember who played. It was you, me, Greg,
And your buddy from New
And
York.
Scott.
Oh, Scott. Yeah, we had a friend from New York come, Scott Sova. This is a game very similar to one of my favorite quotes. Very similar to Robo Rally, but fun.
Okay. I like it. Yeah.
I know
I'll
for
buy
you,
that.
anyways. I also enjoyed Robo Rally, and Scott also made the connection to Robo Rally. But I think this is one that Andy, I think you would like this very much. I think your kids would really like this as well.
Yeah.
So we played this game with Greg.
Yes, you did.
Guess what happened the next
Greg
day?
bought it.
Did he reach out and ask you to buy it?
Yes.
That is hilarious.
Yes. Well, he asked me if I could get it for him, and then I told him, yeah, I can get it. And then he came back and said, well, hold off. I was told no, but I can stop anytime. I might still get it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
That's awesome. I just picked up the retail base game. They actually just launched a whole Kickstarter with some additional content, a bunch of expansion, more robots, more cards, more stuff to play with, different like maps, arena maps and things like that. I'm pretty excited to get that when it finally comes in. There's a lot more to explore with that game, and I'm
Yeah,
excited about
I'm
it.
looking
And
forward to
like
it.
I said, my boys loved it. Like, it's
Yeah.
definitely one of those that you can play with.
was
Teen
fast, yeah.
boys in particular seem like kind of a target audience for it. Can confirm it was a lot of fun.
can confirm.
Well, I got to get an oldie but a goodie to the table this week.
Me?
Not you.
Oh.
You didn't play this with us. I played this with my youngest boy and my oldest daughter, and my wife actually played with us. We got Kingsburg to the table. Now,
That is an oldie.
It is. And it was first edition.
I've
Now-
never heard of it.
What?
Are you serious?
No, I've never heard of this game.
Wow. All right.
Okay, looks like we have some homework.
Yeah, we got
Now,
some homework.
The post editing may have cut out the long silence that just occurred. So if it sounded like we just kept talking, just know that there was a very, very long silence as Nathan and Andy stared at me in disbelief.
befuddlement. Really?
Okay. Well, this is an older game. You're rolling dice and you place those dice to influence different members of the King's Court. Second edition has come out since first edition fairly recently, and I love the fact that they came out with a little module to convert your first edition game into the second edition. So the way
I really like it when publishers do that.
I do too.
When they're going to take a game from first to second and they give you the option to just upgrade your first edition, I love that.
It makes me feel like I'm appreciated as a consumer who bought their game a long time ago and supported them, and they're like, okay, thank you for supporting us. We're going to let you get into the extra content without having to buy a whole brand new game.
100%.
So
yeah, I love that.
So when you influence one of the King's Court, you gain whatever benefit they offer, right? Well, with the second edition module, every season, so you're going through the year, spring, summer, fall, winter, every production season, which is spring, summer, and fall, you flip over a tile that will cover up one of the benefits of, it'll have a number that's associated to one of the members of the King's Court, and that will cover up whatever ability they have printed on the board with a new ability. Those abilities are constantly changing, and honestly, I think they get better for the most part. There's a few that they get covered up, and you're like, no, I wanted to go there this round, right? But for the most part, I think they're an improvement. For me, anyway, made the game more interesting. That game's always a hit whenever it hits the table. Everybody who's ever played it that I've played with has liked that game and really enjoyed it. But adding that second edition content, for me, made it even more interesting. Board's changing, and you're kind of excited, okay, what's going to come out next, and how is that going to affect me? And I liked it. It was a fun time.
Very cool. You'll have to teach this one to me sometime.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
first edition came out 2007, so that is an oldie for sure.
Yeah.
Not one that you'll find on the game shelf. The second edition came out 2017, so 10 years later. Quite often, we'll see games that'll come with their 10-year anniversary. And I echo your comments, Doug, that I love it when a company is going to support your initial investment into their game. Well, speaking of an oldie game, Andy, you and I both have a fond feelings for Starship Catan.
Yes, we do.
This is a great two-player game, the Starfarers of Catan, or I can't remember what the original Catan
Starfarers of Catan, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a two-player version of that. It has had a new release since Catan Starfarers, because the names are so similar. But anyways, the new edition of Starfarers, they also came out with a new edition of the two-player game.
Duel.
Yeah, Starfarers Duel. Andy, you and I got the chance. We went through the learning scenarios. It's a five-step program to get you fully invested into your game.
I feel invested.
Yeah. So you and I, we played the first 4 rounds, the first 4 scenarios to introduce us to the game. Each scenario got progressively longer, so we didn't get to the 5th one because, we were 2.5 hours later, maybe.
Yeah.
Just slowly trickling in these rules. And you just said you were both fully invested, that this was great. Still haven't actually played the new version of Starfarers, which I was really excited to pick up and apparently really excited to leave on the shelf of shame. But
so like 70%.
Shut up, Andy. That little mouth makes so much, hurts me so bad.
I feel my song coming on.
Yes.
Tale as old as time.
Regardless of all that mumbo jumbo, Andy and I really enjoyed this Starship Duel. The final scenario, so we're fully invested into the game at this point, or we could just fully invest in the game, but that's what the final scenario is going to do anyways. But this was a great 2-player game. It paid great homage to the original Starship Catan and gave me all the great feels of an updated version of that. And I was way excited to play this. I was way excited when I picked it up, and so excited that I put it on the shelf and left it there for a while. But I did get it pulled off because it was a night that was just you and I were here for a while, Andy. What better than to share this moment with you?
Oh.
And it was a tender moment.
I'm feeling even more tender right now.
Yeah.
I feel like such a third wheel right now.
Just be quiet, Doug. This is our time.
Yeah, let me just give you 2 a moment.
Not disappointed whatsoever. If there's ever an off night where it's just 2 of us, even if it's just you and I, Doug, that we can get this game off the shelf more often, because Starship Catan was one that I loved very much. Even the Catan the card game.
It's really good.
Yeah, I think I almost like it more than I did Catan.
I did like it more than Catan. It's better.
And I think I felt the same way about Starship Catan as well.
Yeah.
I've said it like 4 times now. I was not disappointed with this, and I thought it was very good. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more plays.
Yeah, they did a good job. The
Very
components
cool.
were great
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I was happy with the components.
Yeah, I was looking at the images online. It looks like each player has like kind of a player board that represents their ship, and it's got
Yeah.
all these little spinning dials and things on
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it looks like the components are quite
keep
fun.
track of your resources, and then you can expand your ship or shrink your ship depending on what all you're going to include, and then makes it all fit snugly in a box, in a smaller box, and it's a 2-player game.
If I'm not mistaken, the original game didn't have dials. You had tiles that you would rotate.
Yeah,
So
you had
having
cards.
the cards actually. Yeah, and this is way better than as far as keeping track of your resources and everything. Having those dials that are set in on your board so they're not moving. They don't if they get bumped. As far as that goes, I thought the components were better than the original.
Goes to the evolution of our hobby.
Sure.
Right? Like going way back to Starship Catan. Starship.
That's the new one.
Uh,
Starfarers of Catan is the old one. Starship Catan is the new one.
just the evolution of Starship Catan. We've seen that where games have gotten revisited and updated. Recently talked about Medici getting a great revamp.
Was it?
Yeah, it's still
Was
a good
it?
game.
Okay. I mean, on one hand, you're talking about a game that has some amazing quality of life improvements with all these dials and everything, and then on the other hand, you're talking about Medici. So, not sure where you're going with this.
Medici is great. The new version of Medici is even better.
I'm not seeing the parallel here. I'm really struggling.
That's a good thing it's not a parallel bar because you would have ran right into it. Both of them. Anyways, Starship Catan. Great. Duel. Go. Fun. Guys are mean.
I will totally try that game again with you, Nathan.
Which one? Medici?
Medici.
All right.
The play that I think had a lot to do with the other people that we were playing with that I don't think understood the strategy. Right, there was a little bit of a gap there, and it created a frustrating play. I will definitely try that again. All right, that's going to wrap up highlights. Let's jump in to this week's topic, and that is our top 5 games that have end game bonuses. This was hard for me when we were doing our general discussion episode because I kept wanting to talk about all the games that were on this list. Looking over all 3 of our top 5s, and we do have a little bit of crossover. I think these are some of my very favorites that feature end game bonuses.
Reperusing the list to make sure that I don't have any. So I can't talk about my number 5 yet. So my number 5's later.
Well, then we'll start with you, and your number 5 is going to be later on someone else's list.
Yes.
So, Andy, do you want to go next?
Sure, I would love to.
Awesome.
So my number 5 is Everdell. Man, we just do not get this game to the table near enough. We got the big box for it. I think I've played it twice since I got the big box.
I got the big box, and then every time I look at it on the shelf, I get intimidated.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I really want to play Everdale, but
wow,
you're scary on the shelf over there.
well, it's
I
time
don't know if I can lift that box off the shelf.
time to
Get
be
the
brave.
back support.
Time to pull up my big boy pants and go play some Everdale.
Time to be brave. Now, in Everdell, so it's a worker placement game, tableau builder. You're building your city and you're placing workers to gain resources and gain other benefits on the board. And that's for the base. There are several expansions that change things up, add a lot of different content. Overall, each card is going to have a point value at the end of the game. You're gaining points through the game, but then the in-game bonuses come from event cards and event tiles, and then discovery cards. If you're playing with my favorite expansion, which is the Evercrest expansion, there are discovery cards that you can get that will have in-game bonuses as well. There are a lot of synergies that can happen. There are cards in the game that are the prosperity cards that will also give you bonuses at the end of the game. A lot of those will be based on certain qualifications that you may have to have certain types of cards in your village, or certain things that you've done in your village to qualify for those points. For the most part, you're going to gain end of game points based on those criteria. What a great game. I don't know why we don't play this very often. I know that one of those reasons we didn't is because Logan hated Everdell.
Because he had the bad experience, and then
the first time.
and then it just stuck with him.
Yeah.
Logan hated it, and Dave had AP. So we just need to play it
We do.
and just enjoy it. Maybe without some of those people.
Maybe.
That sounds so
I'm
rude.
sitting right here. It does sound rude.
There's
but-
one I haven't played Pearlbrook, the expansion Pearlbrook. I don't know if I've ever played it, and I want to try it. I've played all the others.
So I like Pearlbrook. That was the first expansion they came out with,
was.
and I also think it was the worst of the expansions that they came out with. Not that it was bad, just that compared to Belfair was like a module could sort of mix in. But man, Spirecrest in particular was so good.
It was so
Spirecrest
good.
was phenomenal.
Yep.
And then I've only gotten to play is it New Leaf? The
New
latest
Leaf.
one. I've only gotten to play that one once, and I really liked it.
I've only played that once as well, and it was fun. But yeah, I definitely want to try Pearlbrook. I've heard it was probably the weakest of the expansions too, and
Yeah, it's still good though.
because of that, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to play with an expansion, I'd just rather play with one of the other ones.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I totally get that.
So, but we need to get it to the table and play it again, and maybe throw in the Pearlbrook expansion. Number 5 for me is Everdell.
Awesome.
Excellent game.
Well, that will take us to my number 5, and my number 5 was Merchants of the Dark Road. And my big lament with this one is that we just don't play it like we should. This is one of a handful of games that's been sitting there, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like Endless Winter Paleo Americans. It's like Lost Ruins of Arnak. It's one of those games that sits on my shelf, and I want to play it all the time, and we just never get it played. I really like Merchants of the Dark Road. I like the theme. The components are off the charts good, right? With if you get the deluxe components for it. And basically you play as merchants. You've got your little caravan. You're going around a rondel. You're trying to collect goods, and you're trying to kind of upgrade your cart a little bit and gather heroes that need to go and be delivered to far off places. Throughout the game, you're going to trigger these events where essentially you travel along the road and you go make your deliveries. In the process of doing that, you're earning fame and money, and you're going to go up the track. You know, there's a track where you track your fame and your money. You're going to work up those tracks as the game goes on. Interjected into the game here and there are little opportunities to earn just straight up victory points. End game, you know, if you do this, it's worth 2 victory points, or this is worth 3 victory points, or whatever. There's a few of those, so there's some opportunity to get a few extras. But for the most part, when you hit the end of that game, you are going to just look at your tracks, your fame and your money, and you're going to score victory points based on the lowest of the two.
So I'm going to correct you just a little bit here if I'm not mistaken, but the track is only for fame. Your money is secret.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are correct. It's not a track for money. You keep track of your money, or there's a track for fame, and then you just keep your money kind of hidden. Thank you. That's an important distinction.
And the money is amazing if you have the deluxe components.
Yes.
Those coins are awesome.
It's phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. So at the end, you're going to look at where you're at on the fame track, and you're going to count up your money, and whichever one's the lowest of those values is your victory points.
Yeah, and that's where it comes in where it's difficult. Sorry, Doug.
No,
that's where it comes in where it's difficult because you're trying to look at everybody else. You're like, okay, well, Nathan's really high on the fame track. How much money does he have behind that screen, right?
Right.
And so there's that question, right? Or Nathan has tons of money and is maybe sitting in middle of the road on the fame track, but he ends up winning because nobody else has the money that Nathan has. That mechanism where there is some secret information, but the public information as well. I kind of like that because it keeps you guessing, but you kind of have an idea where everybody is because you know everybody's trying to have equilibrium between the two. So I think that's a cool mechanic actually.
Yeah, and I really like how that plays out. And again, that's what you're kind of playing toward. It's that end game bonus when you get down to the end, and everybody's counting everything up and comparing the two. And it seems to always kind of surprise me a little bit where the track and the dollar value kind of play out. But one of the things that I really like, I actually really like the quote on the description because it's super thematic and fun. Balance the money you earn with the height of your fame because your final score after a number of game rounds will reflect the lowest of these two values. After all, what good is a purse full of coin if the people don't sing songs about you? And what good is a song with an empty mug of ale?
I remember that when we first talked about this.
Yeah.
This is a game that I really wanted to enjoy.
Yeah.
Had a bad experience. I'm not against playing it again, but I only played it the one time. But you kind of just glanced over like one of my favorite parts of this game.
Mm-hmm. The rondel.
And that was the rondel.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is magnetized.
Uh-huh.
And I think that is great because I was blown away because when we were setting it up and you just chuck that rondel out there and it's just like,
yep.
We went right to that spot. And I was like, how did you do that?
Well, and it's cool. It's kind of because the game is sort of a double rondel, right? You have that one magnetic one up in the corner that controls the market, but then you're moving your carriage in a circular rondel around the town as well. So
how do you not love this game? Has a double rondelle, Nathan. How do you not love
double
it?
the rondelle, double the fun. Yeah, no, I definitely need to give it a shot again. Not so late at night when I have to work early in the morning.
Not with someone who has AP at the table?
Let's mostly just stick with not late at night and we'll have to get up early in the morning.
Well, yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we'll definitely give it a go. But that's my number 5, Merchants of the Dark Road.
All right, so that brings back to number 4 on mine. Mine is a roll and write game, kind of an earlier one, but I really enjoy how the end game bonuses work in this. And it's not really so much an end game bonus, but more of an end round scoring that happens in this. And this is Cartographers. So Cartographers, you're playing over a year. You're going through the seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. And as you get closer to the winter, the seasons are going to get shorter. And so you're going through fewer cards that you're going to put your polynomial shapes on your board. At the end of each season, you're going to score points based on how you arranged your tiles dependent on the events that came out. You'll know all 4 events, and you're going to score either A and B, and then B and C, and then C and D, and then in the final one, you're going to score A and D again. And just you have to kind of plan for that because you're going to score each one twice, but like the first one, you're not going to score again until the end of the game. And so you want to plan out and you're trying to piece. And so you're maybe sacrificing on one round because you're hoping to score some big points on the final round or the second or the third round. And I think there's so much complexity that the game provides for a very simple game that makes it a pretty beefy roll and write as far as the thinkiness that comes with it. And this is a game that I taught my wife. I was very excited because it does have a BGA implementation. So I always look forward to teaching a game to her, something that we can pull into our rotation. And it has polynomial shapes. And,
Polyominoes, but yes.
Yeah, whatever.
First try. Nailed
Yeah.
it. Yep.
So it has polyomino.
Yep, you got it.
It has shapes.
Yep.
So I thought this was going to be right up her alley because she loves patchwork. It was all about the spatial recognition. She did not like this game at all. And I was
Really?
blown away.
That surprises me.
Interesting. Now, did it have anything to do with the fact that you have to pass this to your neighbor and let them draw monsters on your sheet?
When you have the goblins attack, no, I don't know if that was it or not. I'd need to get her to the table with it again because I think there was maybe just a little bit of a learning curve. The score wasn't bad, right? I didn't demolish her. I think I did end up winning. Maybe there was just a disconnect. This game has her name all over it.
Yeah.
She didn't ask if you
Seems
could
like a
return
Cheryl
it.
game for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I do got to send those games back still.
So there's hope. There's hope.
Yeah, no, it is, but it is a game that I very much enjoy, and there's a lot of expansions and a lot of new content and a lot of cartographer, not revamps, but
There's different map packs for it, and then
Right.
they release Cartographers Heroes with a bunch of map packs for that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of content out there that brings up the replayability of it. So this is a game that I very much enjoy. Haven't played it in a long time until I was able to get it to the table with Cheryl. Doug, you and I have played it on BGA once.
No, a few times. We
Have
played
we?
it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
played it back to back several times.
For some reason, we didn't start it up again. That's probably my fault.
I enjoy the game. That's not my favorite, but I do really enjoy it. I actually, at one point, had everything for this, and then I just culled it as one big package. I actually got all my money's worth out of it because I had it kind of all bundled together. I had to get rid of it because my family didn't like the monster thing. They didn't want to do that. They just were like, no, I don't want somebody else to draw on my sheet. I don't like that. No one wanted to do it. Like an idiot was like, well, that's the rules, so that's what we're going to do. Rather than just saying, okay, well, let's just play it fun, even if it's not the rules. And then it ruined it for everyone. No one wanted to play it again.
Well, that's because you don't use house rules.
Yeah. Okay.
So you did the right thing. Doug.
Okay. I did the right thing. And
No,
the game.
you're totally right. That you got to make it fun for sure. But yeah, house rules are dumb
Not always.
unless
Not
they
always.
save the house.
Unless they saved unless they saved the house.
But anyways, that's Cartographers. I very much enjoy this.
Nice. Andy, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is one that is kind of moving up my list. I don't know even if it's still my number 4. It may be higher, but we're going to call it my number 4 today. And
Sweet.
that is Bardwood Grove. Now, this is a recent acquisition that I got, a recent Kickstarter that arrived, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. It's a very unique deck builder. Never played a deck builder like it. It's a deck builder board movement. You're visiting locations on the board as you're building up your deck. So you're trying to acquire new skills for your songs. So you're trying to build a song as you're playing the game, and then at some point you're going to sing your song and be able to interact with the board using the resources you gained from the song you're singing. And I'm thoroughly impressed with this game. I have played it, and I'll talk a little bit more about this because we played it at MonCon, but I've played it several times, and the fact that it has been a different game every time because I've played a different bard every time, and I'm thoroughly impressed how differently it plays. But as far as the game, the points are concerned with this game, is you're going to gain points. Every card you gain beyond your starting cards are going to be worth points. You gain points for having badges removed from your board, but the big points are for as far as the end game bonus points that you get is throughout the game, different players can tell legendary tells. When that happens, you gain just points for telling the legendary tell, whichever player told that legendary tell. You're going to draw the card from one of the legendary tell decks, and it's going to get added to the pool of legendary tells. And you get to choose, by putting one of your rune tokens on it, which one you want to activate. Now, whichever one gets activated is going to unlock an end game scoring condition for all players, not just the player that unlocked it, but it actually unlocks it for everyone. So the potential for different ways to score points at the end is actually quite large because it depends on which cards come out, which cards actually get put in the game, because there are just random cards that get added to the game and some that will be left in the box, and then which ones get unlocked throughout the game. So lots of different ways that end game points can happen. And honestly, how it also depends on how often people unlock them, because I have had games where legendary tells weren't really a hot thing, whereas we've depleted decks of the legendary tell decks. So it kind of depends on what players are doing in the game, but I do like the fact that it can kind of direct you to do specific things, because most of them are not going to be huge points, but some of them can actually give you quite a few points, to the point where it's like, okay, you can only score a max of 8 points with this because it's one that you can actually get some big points out of. Scoring 8 points for one of those is still quite a few points for the end of the game. But Bardwood Grove is, like I said, it's going up my list because I have thoroughly enjoyed my plays of this game. It's a great game.
Yeah, you played back-to-back at MonCon, which
I did.
Was, for Marissa really enjoyed it. She wanted to play it right again. And so, yeah, I've only played it the one time. Very much enjoyed it. Looking forward to playing it again. I'll try it again with a new person, and it's going to be a whole new game for me, I'm sure.
Yeah, it will be, that's what impresses me the most about it.
Yeah, I love it when a game has replayability like that you have the same beefy game, but yet you have different ways of approaching, different ways that you're going to score those points. And Bardwood Grove does it pretty good.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah,
that's my number 4.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely one that I would like to try again. So awesome. Well, that will take us to my number 4, which is higher up on somebody else's list, which will take us to Nathan's number 3, which is higher up on somebody else's list, which will take us back to you, Andy.
Wow.
What's your number 3?
My number 3. I kind of feel like I'm spoiling it for everybody. My number 3 is my favorite game in the West Kingdom series, and that is Paladins of the West Kingdom.
Now, do you feel like this is your favorite Shem Phillips game, period, or is this just your favorite in the West Kingdom?
Yes, it is my favorite Shem Phillips game.
Okay. I kind of thought that it was.
Yeah, it is.
I was curious. Okay.
Yeah, I like this one better than any of the other ones I've played. With this one, it's a worker placement. I love the fact that it's not just my workers that are going on the board. I need to acquire different colored workers because those workers are going to be doing different things on my player board. And certain actions require very specific workers in order to perform that action. I also love the fact that I can build workshops and place those to cover up worker locations so that certain actions that I want to focus on are going to cost me fewer workers and be cheaper and easier for me to do. The last thing I really enjoy with this game is the fact that you cannot focus on any one thing. You have to diversify or you will lose. It forces you to focus on gaining faith, gaining influence, and gaining strength, because those are the 3 attributes that you're going to be gaining through the game, and that will determine how effective your turns are going to be. As far as when you are playing that game, you're trying to qualify for in-game bonuses. First 3 rounds you will flip a card, a King's Favor card, that will get flipped, one at the beginning of the game and then one for the next 2 rounds. And those are cards that will be in-game scoring, that are open for all players. And those will be different every game because those are just random cards that get placed out. You can also score bonus points for your fortification cards that you have played on the top of your board. You get bonus points at the end of the game for any outsiders that you have converted. You have outsiders in the game, you can either fight them and defeat them, or you can try to convert them. If you convert them, they're going to give you end-game bonus scoring points depending on specific criteria. It'll be converted mercenaries, you're going to gain, or if you've defeated mercenaries, you're going to gain points for every mercenary card you've defeated, or just different types of stuff. You also have villagers that can potentially give you points at the end of the game, as far as bonus points. There's a lot of ways to score points in Paladins. It's a fairly crunchy game, I think, as far as, and one that I think you have to play once to really grasp what's going on, because as far as worker placement games, it's very, very unique and very different on how it plays, because you're not playing on the main board. There's a main board that you're putting tokens down on, but it's not the worker placement part of it, because those, when you place your monastery tokens on there, those stay on the board. They'll stay on the main central board. They never get moved. When you place your garrisons out there, also, they don't ever move. It's just a one-time thing. You gain the benefit. So the worker placement is actually happening on each individual's board separately on their turn. At the end of once they pass, all those workers go back to the supply, and then you gain new workers at the end of the round, or at the beginning of the next round. So it's very unique. I love it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of different ways to score points, very different strategies you can go for. That's Paladins of the West Kingdom. It's a phenomenal game.
I do really like Paladins of the West Kingdom. I do want to play it again. I've played it a couple times or whatever, but you're definitely right. Like the end game bonus is like, it's just a kind of almost like a big point salad.
Yeah, it really is.
And I like that. I mean, I remember liking that quite a bit, but you almost have to play it a couple times to really grok how all those are going to come together.
And you do, because like I said, a lot of games like that, you can focus on, I'm going to focus on this. This is my strategy. You have to diversify. You have to.
Right, which is good. I mean, that's kind of the point of this list we're making, right, is why these endgame bonus systems work so well. And that one just gives you so many good avenues to earn those points.
I just love how Shim Phillips can make these games with so much similar artwork, so much similar iconography, and the games are so diversely...
They play totally different, yeah.
Different. Diversely different. How's that? That's a great adjective right there. It is just, it blows me away that the diversity of the different games. And
you're a wordsmith, Nathan.
I am, yeah. Silver tongue for sure. I'm done. Somebody stop.
Well said, Nathan. Well said.
That's awesome. All right. Well, that'll take us to my number 3. And my number 3 is Raising Robots,
which is my number 5.
So we can kind of talk about this one together. Thematically, in this game, you're basically playing like genius kids who are building a bunch of robots. Mechanically, you're sort of going through in kind of a Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, or Race for the Galaxy style mechanism. You're generating energy, be applied to certain phases of the game. And then you're going to go around, and any of those phases that you can activate, you're going to activate, spend energy, upgrade things, build your robots, and run each of your robot lines. So kind of like Wingspan in that regard, in that.
But fun.
Yeah. I was waiting for that. If you activate one of those areas, one of the 3 lines of your robots, your guy can kind of march down that line and activate each robot. There's lots of opportunities in Raising Robots to gain victory points. And you can just track those on your little board out in front of you. But the reason why this makes my number 3 is because I love the class cards, the endgame bonus class cards that come out. You can have up to 3 of them, and they represent like a specialized class that you're taking as like a student. It'd be like microbiology or circuitry or something like that. And each one of those class cards will have a condition on it. Robots that cost this much power, or robots that have this in their cost, or something like that. Each card has a letter grade on it. So you have a D, C, B, and A, depending on how well you do. So it's not an all or nothing kind of thing. It's this, you're going to get points based on how well you did at that thing, almost like you would in a class, right? It feels thematic and fun. These little arrows that you can kind of track what letter grade you're on. But also, when you take the upgrade action, you can give yourself extra credit in those classes and boost your grade by a whole letter grade. Anyway, the higher the grade you get in the classes you take, the more in-game bonus points you're going to get. While it is a lot of points, I feel pretty balanced because
I think so too.
I've never played a game where somebody's like, oh, I got an A in all 3 of my classes, whatever. I'm sure that's possible. I'm sure people have done it, but usually it's like, well, I got a C here and I got a D here, and then I managed to get a B, but I got some extra credit, so it's an A. When you tally those points up, they feel fun and thematic and balanced with the rest of the game and what you're trying to do. So
The one thing I really find frustrating about this game is it goes way too fast.
I actually kind of like that about it, though.
I do too. It makes you feel rushed, and you're like, "Oh, it's over." But I think it actually plays out perfect, because if it went on for too long, it might give you the feel of Wingspan.
I think the length of the game is a strength and not a weakness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree, Doug.
You know what? You need an attitude adjustment, Nathan.
No, I think I'm just fine.
This one I need to play. I have not.
You do.
I have not played this yet, and it sounds awesome, especially if it's like Wingspan. And
But fun.
but we need to get this to the table.
Actually, keep bringing this to game night in hopes that I'll get to teach it to you.
Oh my
and
gosh.
then we keep playing it while you're playing something
I
else.
know. I get dragged into campaign games.
You are a sucker for campaign games.
I am a sucker for campaign games.
This is another game that has some, I believe, some really outstanding upgrade components that aren't over the top. They're not metal and they're not ridiculously overproduced, but they're just really good chunky wooden pieces.
Nice.
I think it's definitely worth picking up those pieces. But
Big upgrade from the cardboard chit. So.
I think so. That was my number 3, Raising Robots, which will take us to Nathan's number 2.
To my number 2. So my number 2 is a game I was kind of reluctant to play, and this is Earth. I didn't want it to be terraforming Mars, and so I was kind of don't want to play. And then I got, okay, let's play, and Earth I very much enjoy. I think Earth is a game that provides a lot of thinkiness and planning and strategery that you're trying to plot out how you're going to plant your stuff when you're planning your cards, working for those end game goals, working for the public objectives, working on your private objectives to try to score all those points at the end. And this is a game that I find it's not always easy to tell where you are in the placement until it gets to that point where the game is scored. Because there's several times that I'm like, I've lost this game. I have no skin in this game whatsoever. And then we tally up the score and I'm like, how did I win that? Did I cheat? Did I do something wrong? Because how did I win that? We'll play it again and right there and then they're running again. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I'm doing something okay. And BGA has an okay implementation of it. Can't cheat in BBA.
Yep.
And BGA.
Beep-bop-boop-boop-beep-bop-bop.
With this baby, we'll never get lost. But anyways, the BGA implementation won't let me cheat, so I must have been doing something wrong or something right, because I've won that a couple of times. And then there was one game where there was 5 of us playing. Nobody really knew what the score was going to be, and we all ended up very close.
Mm-hmm.
And then Richie came and still won, but all the scores were very close.
I think on one of those BGA games, we had like a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for first place.
No, yeah, for
second or third.
I think it was 4 people were all tied for second place, and this is the game with Richie.
had,
and then Richie,
yeah,
and he
place.
only won by like 5 points.
Yeah.
So 4 of the 5 players were tied, and I want to say it was 205 points. That sticks out in my mind.
Yeah,
like, if we only had an app that we could look at that up. Earth is great. I love the artwork in the cards. I mean, the artworks are photos of real life things, and as opposed to photos of fake things, but they're
wordsmith.
I just it must be late or something. I'm having a whole times of issues. I'm done.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
No, Earth is
Number
really,
2.
really good. And if Richie were here, this would probably be his number 1.
Yeah, probably.
He really likes this game. And I like it too. I've had some good games and I've had some bad games, but I do like that for the most part, the scores are fairly hidden. There's a lot of those really good end game bonuses to work for and strive for. And they do oftentimes make the difference between winning and not. And the game is full of surprises, little combos and things that you can trigger and stuff that you kind of discover every time you play it, that you're like, oh, that's a cool card. Use this way, it does this. Like, yeah. Earth is a really solid, good game. And you get to a lot of those games where you're like, I think I did pretty well. And then you start scoring stuff up and you look over and it's like, oh, Nathan composted like 60 cards. He's got half the deck over there.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's just like those
Yeah.
little things that you're like, well, how did I not notice that?
Yeah. And I think that's what's great about the game is because you don't realize it. And then you start tallying the score. And then you're like me, did I cheat? How did I get all these points? I don't understand how I got all these points.
I think it's one of those games where you have to consciously make the effort to pay attention to what other players are doing.
Unless
Nope.
you bog down the game,
Well,
then I'm not going to play with
Not necessarily to bog down the game. The biggest reason I think that is not necessarily to see what they're scoring points on, but to see what they're playing and what actions they're selecting,
you. Yeah.
so that you can play cards appropriately so that you're gaining the most benefit possible for the actions that they are most likely going to be selecting on their turn. Because it's one of those games where I select an action, I get a larger benefit for taking that action, but everybody else gets to do that action too, and then activate cards in their tableau that also match that color.
Yeah. Which can be huge, right?
Huge. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is where somebody can end up with 60 cards in their compost pile or have a ton of soil that they can plant whatever they want. Having, what is it, seeds? Is that the things on the bottom? The spores? Sprouts, yeah.
Yep.
Or, grow your trees, grow your plants. There's so much diversity in the way that you're scoring points that it's not really easy to sit there and go through, okay, I'm tracking, but being able to see what phases are going to be super beneficial for somebody else, and you're like, well, I really want to do that, but I'm just giving Andy a ton of points if I take the plant phase. So let's look at option B.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, and not to get us too lost in the weeds here, this is a game designer is Maxime Tardif, and I remember watching like an interview with the publisher. This has been quite a while ago, but one of the things that he mentioned that I really like is that Earth was designed to be, everything in it should be a net positive. It is net positive for everyone. Anytime anything happens, you are always moving forward and never moving back. So it's just how well you can build your engine to capture the forward momentum. You're never going in reverse.
Yeah.
You don't ever
Even
take
when
steps backwards.
Yeah.
You just might not take steps forward as fast as the other players.
Yeah,
And
even
I
when
really
you
like that.
sacrifice something, you're going up somewhere else.
Yeah, I really like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's Earth, my number 2.
Good pick. All right, my number 2 is The Castles of Burgundy.
And this was my number 4.
I love this game.
Yeah,
This
it's
is a
really
good
good.
game.
It is really good.
So
Especially your deluxified
oh
edition.
my gosh, that deluxe edition with all the 3D buildings.
Yes.
Awesome.
It is awesome.
We also played this at MonCon. We've played this also at SaltCon, and just the table presence alone gets people stopping and like, ooh. It reminds me of Foundations of Rome, right?
Yeah.
Where just the table presence alone gets people stopping and looking, and they're like, wow, that game looks amazing. It just looks amazing. Hopefully it plays amazing. And Castles of Burgundy lives up to that task. Now, throughout the game, you're going to be gaining different buildings and placing those buildings into your duchy. But the end of game bonus buildings are the monasteries. So those are the yellow buildings, or if you don't have the deluxe copy, it's the yellow tiles. I almost look at them as like technology. And like if you're looking at like a sci-fi themed game or something like that, it'd be a tech. Right, so you're gaining some sort of asymmetrical way of scoring points or asymmetrical ability that you're going to be able to take advantage of throughout the game. Those monastery tiles can end up scoring you a ton of points with those bonus points at the end of the game. Now, there are 2 different kinds of monastery tiles that come out on the game board. There are the ones that just go in the depots around the board. There are 6 depots, and then there's that central area. Now, those in the black central area that you actually have to pay silver for, so they're a little harder to get, but they tend to be quite a bit more powerful than the ones that you can just gain by placing a die and taking an action to gain those monasteries. But the way you can score points ranges from basically any action that you can do throughout the game. There's going to be a way to score points with a monastery for it at the end of the game. If you can manage to get the tile on your board before someone else grabs it, or I guess one of the things I like about it as well, as I've played the Castles of Burgundy as many times as I have, is gaining some of those, especially if you can gain some of those monasteries at the beginning of the game or towards the beginning of the game. It can really give you a focus for a strategy of what you want to go for.
Right.
Now, there is some randomness in the game itself, so it could totally just backfire on you.
But if it does, you're not necessarily out much, right?
Right.
You're
You can
out,
adapt.
You're out 1 tile.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
You can adapt. That's true. For example, in one of the recent games that we played, the warehouse, we did not have one warehouse come out until like the second to last round. There were no warehouses in the game it was kind of crazy because everybody's like, where are the warehouses? And I think one person actually had the monastery tile that gave them 4 points for every warehouse and they're in their duchy. And they're like, yeah, where are the warehouses? I need warehouses to score points.
Yeah.
Great game. I love different layers of strategy that you can do. Tons of different boards, mats that you can place. The layout is different every single time. And phenomenal game. It's one that I am always willing to play.
I like how you're talking about how they can give you a direction at the beginning of the game. That's part of the fun of the versatility of those in-game bonus tiles,
Sure,
the
yeah.
monasteries, right? Because some of them come out early and they give you a direction and you can work toward them. There's almost kind of a sense of anticipation seeing which ones are going to come out in the later rounds, because at that point you're going to have a lot of stuff already built. Instead of looking for the ones that'll give you direction, you start looking for the ones that fit well with what you've already built.
Correct.
And
yeah.
so timing that, especially in those later rounds, you're almost like racing for some of them.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like that kind of thing. There's a fun tension that they kind of create as you build up toward the end game. Such a great design.
It really is. You know, one of those monastery tiles that comes to mind as far as setting yourself up for strategy, the first one that came to my mind when I thought of that was the tile that gives you bonus points for every trade good that you've sold in the game.
Oh, that one's big.
You know, and it can be, right? So
Yeah.
at that point, I'm going to be focusing on building ships to get as many trade goods as I can. But when I build those ships is going to be important because I'm going to want to really, really take advantage of how many tiles I'm going to be able to add to my trade goods. And I'm going to want warehouses so I can sell them for free. A lot of strategy that goes into which tiles you take and how exactly are you going to maximize points for each of those.
Yeah. This is a game that I've played 16 times.
Really?
I've yet to win this game.
I didn't realize you played it that many times.
Yeah. Doug beats me quite soundly on it again and
not
again.
just
I'm
me.
getting better.
So does Jody. Jody
Yeah,
beats
Jody-
both of us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jody
this
beats
is,
both of us.
you're talking about online.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
doesn't count then. So
No, it totally counts. But it's a game that I am getting better at, but
You're
I-
definitely getting much better at it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was beating Nathan very consistently, and then we invited Jody to start joining our games, and then now he just beats both of us all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I've taken second place twice, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice job, Nate.
So- have.
And even in that game that we played at MonCon, Andy, with you, my wife, and Amara,
Yeah.
me. I guess I was the fourth person.
And the fifth.
And the fifth, yes. And I took second in that, which I actually thought I had it. And then you zoinked that rug right out from under my feet.
You know, it was my genuine pleasure to do so.
I gathered that. So, but, yeah, this is a game that going up on my list of games that I very much enjoy.
Good.
And I almost picked up a copy of it, and then I passed. So
I am so proud of you.
yeah, I had a moment of weakness followed by a moment of solidarity, and then as we talk about it,
You're feeling the weakness
I'm
again.
feeling the weakness.
Stay strong, Nathan.
Yeah.
Stay strong.
But yeah, it is a good game. One that I don't currently own.
And that's okay.
Is it?
It's totally fine.
Is it?
It's A-okay. It's totally fine,
I'm
Nathan.
feeling some Greggitis
Maybe
at the table here.
for sure.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Now, that's a great pick. That'll take us to my number 2, and my number 2 is Ark Nova. First of all, I love this game overall. This is a game I always am wanting to play, and it's one that I want to teach you guys so that you will love it too, because I know you both have mixed feelings about it right now. I think Ark Nova is a brilliant design. I think there is a really, really good reason why it jumped so high on the top rankings of all time list so fast. And that is because it genuinely is just a fantastic game design. There's a lot going on. Basically what you're doing is you're trying to build out your zoo. There's a really fun sort of card selection, this tableau of cards in front of you, and each one has an action on it. The strength of those cards is based on the number, like the position that it's in. You're going to pick which card, and you're going to execute that card at its current strength. And as the game goes, you're amassing a bunch of points by putting animals into your zoo, so you got to build the enclosures and put the animals in, and they score you a bunch of points. But at the same time that this is all going on, you're also trying to build up conservation points. And the way the tracks work, they kind of go opposites, right? So you've got the point value going one way on the track and the conservation going on the other way on the track. And it's actually when players cross, when those two tracks cross, the conservation and appeal is what it is, that's what triggers the game end. The end game bonus cards for this will always give you conservation. And conservation is scored in groups of 3, whereas appeal is just a straight like 1-to-1. If I get 7 appeal, it's just 7 appeal. But if I get 4 conservation, I'm getting 12 points. There are ways that you can get extra bonus cards, like endgame bonus cards throughout the game, but it's a little bit hard to build an entire strategy around that, and it's not something you can do. You can't just bank on the endgame bonuses to run away with the game. That said, they are important enough that they cannot be ignored. You really have to pay attention to what bonus card you get. Try to make sure that you don't miss out on those points. Because as soon as somebody crosses, as soon as those tracks cross, that's when you trigger the end game, you play a little bit more, and then you start tallying everything up. And being able to move a significant distance on those conservation tracks is really, really important. I like this game for the in-game bonus because it's not super in your face, and you're not collecting a ton of them, but they just can't be ignored. You really have to focus on them. You need to make sure you understand what your in-game bonus card does and try to work toward it in order to be competitive. Either that or come up with a strategy that counters it, because you know you're not going to get those points.
So I played this game a couple of times, 3 or 4 times when it first came out. I thought I remembered it. I started a game because there's a BGA implementation for this. I started a game with you, Doug, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Absolutely zero idea what I'm doing. I've built some enclosures. I have no idea how to put animals in them. I did some sponsors. I have no idea if they're giving me any value. I drink a lot of coffee. And pretty sure... I think you're going to win.
I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I think you're going to win this one.
Worst zoo manager ever.
Yeah. So
I'm really hoping you two will let me teach you this game.
I would love to.
Like from the ground up.
Yeah.
Just teach you the game, and like just the 3 of us sit down, play it. I think you'll actually really enjoy it.
I think
it's
you're
a
right.
Great game.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely not a bad game. I've just played it with some bad experiences.
All right. Well, let's move away from that and talk about your number 1, Nathan.
Number 1.
My number 1 is Maracaibo.
I love that game.
I do too. It's I don't think it's going to be my number 1 for long. I think it's starting to lose its luster. But I very much enjoy this game, and I very much enjoy the challenge that it brings and the idea of trying to focus on things that are going to give you long-term points as opposed to things that are going to give you instant points. In this game, there are 4 objectives that are going to be revealed each year of the game, and each one of these objectives is a different way that you can possibly score endpoints at the end of the game. And you have to put one of your workers on there to be eligible to score those points. And
which totally burned me the last time we played it online.
Did it?
Yeah. Yep. I was like, I've got that. I just need to claim it, and I'll just snag it on my last turn. And I had everything like lined up and everything. And then I went to snag it, and it was like,
you need money?
Don't have any workers
left. No workers. You have the money, but no
all
workers.
Out on the board. Yeah.
And so that's what my latest thing is. I'm trying to use least amount of merchants on the board and saving them for action cards that will give me more variety. Except for any time I play with Andy, I mean, he's just makes fun of me as he zooms past me and then zooms past me again. And
just lapping you on that score track.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
on your left, Nathan. On
your left. Say that one more time. But Maracaibo is a great game, and Andy, you've talked much about Pirates of Maracaibo. Supposedly, that's going to get a U.S. release this year. It's supposed to be Q1, but here we're into July, almost August.
Yeah,
and no word on that yet.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, so
I'm waiting.
I'm hoping to play that maybe when we go back to BGG.
Yeah, for sure.
This November.
If it's not out by then,
we'll get a chance to play it then.
Yeah, I think you'll like it. I think you'll like the fact that the board changes because the board is made up of cards, and when you interact with it, that card, you take the card and it just immediately gets replaced with something new. So it's constantly changing. Now there's a level of frustration there, right? Because it's like, dang it, you went there and now I can't. Now the new card I don't want, so I have to change what I'm doing. But yeah, it's a fun. I liked it better than Maracaibo, and I love Maracaibo.
Yeah.
But this is the issue with online games, Nathan. Is now it's where the luster is wearing off. because of online games. If you weren't playing it online, you would still love it just as much as I do.
If I hadn't played it 20 times, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I would still, yeah. No.
Doug's the same way.
I do find that the game plays better at a higher player count. 2 players I find a little bit frustrating, especially like when
I agree.
both players are trying to actively pursue the quests.
Oh yeah.
And you're further behind in the islands.
I don't know. That seems to be a frustration whether you're playing. The quests are always highly contended.
I mean, they are, but with the higher player count, there's more out there, right? I mean, there's still competition for them for sure. A 2-player game, and the other person is just going from quest to quest to quest. And I'm like, how do you have all those items all the time, Andy?
All the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes things just work out for people, apparently.
Yeah, and I try to do that, playing. I'm that's what the first thing I look at is, okay, what are the quests? What resources do I need? And I love that the cards have that where they have the symbol, the goods that you're going to use to trade at the different harbors that you're going to try to trade for them. And then those cards also have goods that you're going to use to turn in for quests. And so you have to manage, I really want to play this card. I want to build this card. I want to buy this card, put it in my tableau. But I also want to use this card to get resources off my player board so that I have more upgrades available to me. And I want to be able to complete quests. So that card has all those purposes in one little card everywhere you want to put it. So I very much enjoy the internal debate of how am I going to use this card to best help me.
One of the tricks is if you're going to go for quests, one of the first things you want to unlock is the ability to pick a card, one of the face-up cards for free.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the best ways, because it's like, oh, okay, I need
Let you
maps.
take what you need.
Yep. There's a map out there. I'm going to nab that. If you're going for quests, that's the first or second ship upgrade I do. Usually the first, if I'm trying to get lots of quests.
And then being able to have 6 cards in your hand.
That is, that one too. Yep, for sure.
But anyways, Maracaibo, an excellent game. Will it be my number 1 for long? I don't think so, but for now, it's still my number 1, especially in this category.
Yeah.
It's a good game.
Great game.
It's really good and a good pick.
All right, my number 1 is Clank Catacombs.
Which was my number 3.
Yes, I had a lot of crossover with you guys.
Yep.
I didn't really care for Clank. I liked Clank Legacy, but that was really the only Clank game I really liked before Clank Catacombs came out. They were okay. I can't say I disliked them. I did like them, but it wasn't
my pearls.
But it wasn't really. It's like, I'll play. But is there something else? Oh yeah, let's play that instead.
Yeah, I kind of felt that same way when I cast my pearls before Doug, and he said, Clank in Space was okay.
It was just okay, but I don't think we played it right. I mean, not that we played it wrong. I think you mixed and matched too much of all the expansions and stuff in there, and I think it just made the
overwhelmed you.
Had
the same issue as Wingspan.
It was hard for everyone
Yeah.
to get synergies with the cards. Yeah, the deck was really diluted with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Suffered from wingspanitis.
Yep.
I don't think that Wingspan has that issue, but
You wingspanned me. You wingspanned me. You clipped my wings.
Clip your wings.
I think what won me over is just that it has more of a dungeon crawl feel as you're flipping tiles, and I felt like I was really exploring rather than
I get that for sure.
the static board where, okay, I'm just moving along and I can plan my path, and I like the discovery part of it. I feel like I'm actually going down and trying to find some artifacts.
Clank and Space kind of added on to the original base game, so you had the modules that were different.
Yeah.
But Clank Catacombs does provide that opportunity where it does feel like it's more of an exploratory, not expletive, but you having more of that explore sensation and feel to the game that does give you that dungeon delve feel, right? And I find that in our games of Catacombs, it's harder to make it back to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many times we've played that there have been
Multiple people.
Yeah, multiple people that actually get lost in the depths and don't score anything.
Yep.
Or get into just the shallows and still get killed by the dragon. Yeah, you are. I remember that game. That was great.
Was that the game where you killed me and then you killed Doug?
Yes.
And then you let Amara live for a little bit as you bravely ran away.
Yep, that was the game. And then everybody got killed by the dragon, but me
Yep.
and I made it out. Yep, that was the one. I see you remember it too.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's a lot of ways.
Salt on that wound.
There's a lot of ways to score points in Clank Catacombs. So obviously you have points on the cards, right? Which is typical of Clank. Artifacts that you're going to be gaining to get out. Eggs, monkey statues, end of game points, bonuses. So some of the prisoners will have end of game bonus points depending on meeting certain conditions, and some of the cards will actually have bonus points for meeting certain conditions. I think the deck building is a little bit easier in Clank Catacombs. At least it is for me. I felt like I can actually build something that has some synergy and gets me doing what I want to do. Whereas in some of the other Clank games, maybe that's why they've fallen flat. Is I almost feel like the deck building is secondary, whereas I feel like the deck building is more of an integral part of the game where I feel successful at it. That could just be because I was terrible at the other Clanks and didn't really know how to create the synergies.
Could be.
It very well could be because I just didn't play him a ton, so I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. And then obviously you get the points for if you successfully get out of the dungeon and kill everybody else. But
that's not the object of the game. But it does work for you, apparently.
And I wouldn't say that as far as in-game bonuses, I wouldn't say it's the strongest game for in-game bonuses. However, if I'm looking at the different games that have in-game bonuses and which one I would like, okay, if that's at the table, I would play that over these other games, and Clank, that's why Clank made my number one spot.
Save it for the showdown episode.
I will. And it's not going to get so much hate like the last one.
No, I think you're going to get, with a lot of the crossover on your list, you're going to get a lot of yours boosted up for sure.
Let's hope.
Now I'm going to go out of my way to boost them down.
Doug, come on. Wow.
No, not really. Actually, I was thinking about that as we were going over the list. I was like, I don't really see any on here that are going to, when we do those showdown episodes, there's always a couple that fall to the bottom pretty obviously.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious that all of us are like, yeah, that belongs at the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's really the case with this.
Yeah,
with this
no,
list.
this is going to be an
a-
interesting showdown because
it will
there's
be.
a lot of games that we all have high appeal for. So it's going to be a lot of debate. Which one do we want which one would we play more? So
Yep.
We'll see how that goes.
100%. All right, well, let's wrap this baby up with my number one. My number one is Wonderland's War. The episode's going long. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how this game is played. Basically, this is a Alice in Wonderland themed game. There's a tea party phase where you build a bag of chips and upgrade your character on a sheet. And then you have a war phase where everyone battles it out over these 5 different locations. You do this 3 times, and those cards get progressively better every time. So it kind of escalates in that regard. But this, to me, is endgame bonus cards done right. The endgame bonus cards have a top and a bottom. And the top is a bonus that you can earn by doing something in the middle of the game. So you can earn 3 victory points if you meet a certain condition as you're playing the game. And you're going to play that out in front of you if you meet that condition. The bottom half of the card is going to give you an end game bonus. When the game ends, meet that bonus, then you'll get an additional 3 points. If you've managed to get both the top and the bottom, you get an additional bonus 3 points. And I love the way that works. I love how it's like, well, maybe I'm not going to get the bonus 9 because I can't do both of these, but I can at least do this and I can get these 3 points. And on this one, I can get these 3 points. And on this one, I can get all 9 of the points, right? Which is quite a bit at the end of the game. We talk a lot about how we kind of like multi-use cards. These are, in my mind, kind of like multi-use bonus cards. And I really like the way those work. There's also some opportunities on each individual player board to upgrade the value of your castles that you have out on the map. The higher the value of those castles, the more points you'll earn at the end of the game as well. So I think this is a fantastic game. The components are fantastic. Theme is amazing. The art is amazing. It plays smooth. It's a slick one to teach. It has fantastic in-game bonuses. Really like those bonus cards. This one just kind of fires clear across the board for me. But in particular, I love the way they did those endgame bonus cards.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is one that I really want to play. I would very much like to get this played. The artwork on it is great, except for the fact that the Mad Hatter looks like the Penguin. All the components of this game look phenomenal. We've talked about this game in the past and haven't gotten it to the table. This is one that needs to make it to the table for sure.
Awesome. Okay. I'll bump it up the list. We'll definitely get it played. You'll like it. Andy, I feel like I played this once with you.
Yeah, I've played it once. It was a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed this game. It's been a while since I've played it. And
it has been a while.
I don't remember a whole lot about it. I remember I enjoyed my play of it, and that's about it. I remember the artwork was fun.
I enjoyed it. Full stop.
I don't remember much of anything else. So
it's the Manny Tremblay art that is fantastic. Yeah, he did a really good job with the art in this game. All right, well, that is going to wrap us up. So unless you guys have anything else to add.
No, I think that's a pretty solid grouping of top 5 games with end game bonuses.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, we'll put that one in the books then. Until next time.
We'll see if your score catches up at the end and you take away that W at the game table.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/Meeple Nation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_Nation, or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.